Hello and welcome to the Casey Hubble Show. I had planned on opening up this show with a little humor. My producer Walt has redone my background for my studio and I thought it was pretty funny. If you look at it, you'll see there's Trump is the big dog and he has all the cards in his hands, and there's Kamala Harris and Joe Biden at the bottom cheating. But this isn't going to be a humorous show. We'll talk about the funny stuff maybe sometime in the future. This is a serious show. It's a somber occasion. It's a sad day. What I feel is happening is the war in the Middle East that was started on October 7th has significantly expanded. The Iranians have stupidly attacked Israel. This is all about showing the Arab world who's in charge, and that you pay a price if you mess with Iran. And it's also being brought on by the fact that the Iranians really aren't being deterred because of all the hesitancy in Washington, because of firing hundreds of missiles at ships in the Red Sea and U.S. troops. And Iran's behind all that. Firing missiles at U.S. troops all over the Middle East. And a history of killing Americans with no consequences. Not only that, this started back in 1979 when the Iranians seized the U.S. Embassy and held our embassy staffers hostage for 444 days. And a weak and feckless Jimmy Carter was beside himself, not knowing what to do, until he finally authorized a very complicated and risky rescue mission. And it tragically failed. It was we refer to it now as Desert One. I'm sure a lot of Americans that were alive at that time will never forget the images of an American transport plane and massive helicopter burned out in the desert, and American bodies left behind when the mission went tragically wrong. But we won't talk about Desert One in depth here. But not too long after Desert One, you had the 1983 Beirut barracks bombing that killed 241 Americans, Marines, and 58 French soldiers. That was all orchestrated, engineered by the Quds Force, by Iran. No consequences. We saw the Khobar barracks bombing, mostly Air Force personnel in Saudi Arabia. Luckily, an alert sentry saw the truck bomb coming and was able to evacuate a lot of people, or death toll would have been much higher. 19 Americans died and about 500 people were wounded in that attack. That was, the Saudis told us that we have direct evidence that the Iranians did this too, and the Clinton administration asked for the evidence, and the Saudis said, not unless you assure us that you're going to do something, because the Saudis time and time again had seen the United States weak and didn't want to invite further Iranian aggression on their territory. So they wanted to turn the intelligence over to us on the condition that we promised we would actually do something with it and punish Iran. And the Clinton administration would not make that promise. The Iranians have been attacking U.S. forces for decades. Their biggest fear is that what we were trying to do in Iraq would work. So Quds forces were training insurgents, were actually participating in ambushes against American troops. We found technology on the battlefield in Iraq, the United States did, that we know came from Iran. Iranian roadside bombs, especially the deadly roadside bombs using copper projectiles that could melt through armor. That came from Iran. Iranian sniper rifles found on the battlefield. Quds forces killed on the battlefield. Iranian nationals fighting in Iraq against the United States. It's just gone on and on. And Iran has never faced any consequences. Now this new regime that we have is actually enabling Iran. And it's sad to see all this develop. But you know, let's go back to Iran for a second. Iran is saying now that this is all over. This is our response is a measured response, and don't even think about escalating. Israel can't do that. Israel can't allow its own territory to be attacked by missiles and not respond. Now, during the first Gulf War, the Israelis did that because we begged and pleaded with them not to respond. But we also dispatched Patriot missile batteries to Israel to help them defend themselves. But this time is different. This is a massive attack from Iran, a sworn enemy, a country whose upper tier of politicians has sworn that is their goal to destroy Israel, and they're attacking Israel with ballistic missiles now, and cruise missiles, and drones. So Israel cannot simply ignore this and go, okay, it's a measured response. I heard somebody on Fox say, I hope cooler heads will prevail. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine what would happen if someone launched an attack like this on the United States? Who would say, I hope cooler heads will prevail? Israel is a tiny little nation. It can't absorb attacks like this. It can't risk another one. The next Iranian missiles that come might be tipped with nuclear warheads. That's what's on the horizon. Iran has to be dealt with by Israel and dealt with now. And it would be nice if they had the United States support. It would be nice if we responded forcefully against the Iranians. Will we? I doubt it. If Joe Biden's prior behavior is any predictor of his future behavior, it's going to be embarrassing to see what the United States does. Now, let's look at these Quds forces that are attacking Americans all over the Middle East. The Quds forces, they operate along the same principle as, let's say, our Green Berets, to use a colloquialism, or to use a nickname, the U.S. Special Forces groups. They were designed to help governments stay free, to fight off communist insurgencies. Their motto is de oppresso libre, which means to free the oppressed. This is a noble endeavor, a noble effort on the part of the United States to help countries remain free and stem the onslaught of communism. The Quds forces operate along the same principle, but their policy is to sow terror everywhere they go, to kill, rape, maim, torture, make people afraid for their lives. In essence, what the Quds forces are supposed to do, and this is a branch of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, what they're supposed to do is destabilize moderate, peaceful Muslim regimes so that they're vulnerable to collapse and a takeover by a government like Iran's lunatics. That's the difference between the nobility of the American people and this Iranian government, which sows terror and hatred and death everywhere it goes. And so we're going to negotiate with that. We're going to give them $100 billion and say, oh, we control how they spend the money. Are you kidding me? This is the outcome of that appeasement. Joe Biden and his administration are directly responsible for the tragedy you see unfolding before you right now. Not only the Biden administration's policies toward Iran But the fact this lunatic climate change agenda of theirs has driven the price of oil through the roof, flooding the Iranian regime with cash so that they can fund all this insanity. The Iranians just this morning, our time, seized an Israeli ship, an Israeli civilian container ship, cargo ship, excuse me. They started the war this morning, our time. And now what you're seeing playing out in front of you on the television, these missile strikes, is just a continuation of what the Iranians started this morning. We as a nation cannot allow this behavior any longer. This hostile relationship with the lunatics in Iran has been going on since 1979, and we have Jimmy Carter, who could be Joe Biden's brother, to thank for that. Iran's hoping that we continue the policy of appeasement, the policy of the policy of restraint and appeasement. That's what Iran is hoping we'll do. Well, the coming hours, and I'm watching some of this on the monitor in the background, the coming hours are going to demonstrate aptly what is going to happen. But the Israelis have substantial military capability. And I'm watching the talking heads on Fox. They don't get it. They don't understand what's going on here. But Iran has ballistic missiles, Israel has ballistic missiles. Well, Iran has ballistic missiles, but Israel has ballistic missile submarines that are always on patrol in the Persian Gulf. Ballistic missile submarines that are bought from Germany, of all places. Israel has the capability to level Iran. And if you're Israel, gosh, as an American with two sons that are military age, I don't hope for war. I pray for peace. But you can't negotiate with the Hitler of the Middle East. And that's what Ayatollah Khamenei is. He's showing us over and over again what they want is to dominate that region, and Israel is in their way, and so are we. And so is the Western world. And what he's doing right now is testing our resolve. And what Joe Biden is showing is that he has none. I hope and pray that in the coming days what we see is a response that is adequate to deter Iran from ever doing this again. What I would advocate, what I hope future administrations pursue is regime change in that nightmare of a country. The Iranian people are some of the most beautiful people, inside and out, I have ever known in my life. So this is hard to see them suffer, but they're going to suffer because of their regime. The Iranian people have been trying to overthrow that nightmare of a regime ever since it took power. And the result has been bloodshed. Massive bloodshed. Do you remember the pictures of people hanging from cranes in downtown Tehran? That's what the regime used to do. For people who committed morality crimes, for the crime of being a homosexual, for the crime of adultery or petty theft. They would hang people from construction cranes in downtown Tehran and leave their bodies there for days. That's the kind of regime we're dealing with here. So what I'm seeing is the attacks are continuing or ongoing. A lot of this drone technology that the Iranians have is coming with the help of technology from North Korea, and technology from China, and technology from Russia. When those are your friends, that shows you a little bit about what your regime's like too. I wanted to tell you a little bit before I sign off today. I'm going to try and keep these shows coming so we can talk about what's going on up here. Again, my name is Casey Hubble. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, a sergeant in the U.S. Army Infantry for 10 years. I have a master's degree in public policy and administration, which means I'm a trained policy analyst. It doesn't mean I have all the answers, and I don't. And in this show, I might make a mistake or two. But the reason I'm doing this is because I want to tell you the truth. And I want to tell you the truth unvarnished. And I also, because what I see on TV, in the news, is a lot of people who really are very, very beautiful people, but they don't know what they're talking about. And so I'm hoping to just give you another perspective. And I'm hoping the next show might be a little more cheerful. But thank you for watching, and I'll be right back probably in the next day or two. Thank you.